Welcome to the Wags of SCI podcast, where we discuss life, love, and caregiving after spinal cord injury, hosted by Elena Polly and Brooke Paget.
Both our partners are quadriplegics, and after connecting online in 2017, we began the advocacy and support group WAGS of SCI, which is an acronym for Wives and Girlfriends of Spinal Cord Injury.
So you must be thinking, what is the goal with this group?
Our goal is and has always been to establish and nurture a strong network of women around the world who understand and support one another while navigating the SCI life.
We know firsthand the challenges that come with living this lifestyle, and our mission with this podcast is to spread education, awareness, and positivity from our unique perspective.
So join us each week as we tackle deeper discussions around balancing life as a caregiver and a lover to someone with a spinal cord injury.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Wags of SCI podcast. Here we go.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Wishart Brain and Spine Law. Led by our personal mentor and lawyer, Robin Wishart, Wishart Brain and Spine Law is a uniquely specialized law firm located in Vancouver, British Columbia.
They focus their practice on complex spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury cases, and they work with clients all over North America as advocates and a much-needed resource in the spinal cord injury community.
Robin and her team look at their clients differently than other firms. You're not just a case, you're a person with a family, a life, and a purpose.
They are always looking for ways to help improve the quality of life for their clients by providing the support they need for their recovery, such as assisting with insurance and benefits paperwork, finding resources for home adaptations, setting up medical appointments with doctors and specialists, and making sure that their clients are doing physically and mentally okay.
Wishart Brain and Spine Law is proud to support WAGS of SCI. Robin is committed to helping clients and their families any way that she can, because she wants you to live your life and not your claim.
Your first consultation is always free. So contact them at brainandspinelaw.com and make sure to mention that the Wags of SCI sent you.
This episode is sponsored by Rolling in Paradise. Rolling in Paradise is a disabled-owned and operated family business owned by Annalisa and John, specializing in adaptive equipment for an active lifestyle. John is a C4, C5 quad for 34 years and has been using adaptive equipment for many years. He hand cycles daily and has been in the adaptive equipment industry for over 20 years. Annalisa and John have been together since 2007, and they have 2 furry kids. They love to be outdoors, going to the beach, cycling, and any activities to enjoy the sunshine.
They are proud to offer the following manufacturers: Madeline hand bikes, Sport On hand cycles, Reactive adaptation hand cycles, Stricker attachable hand bikes, everyday wheelchairs including Tie-Light, motion composites, hands-on concepts and colors, power assist devices such as Spinergy, ZX1, Smart Drive, and Freedom Tracks. And lastly, some accessories and other adaptive equipment, Easy Stand, Quadra Grips, Spinergy wheels, Roho, and Stimulate cushions, and much, much more.
You can contact Annalisa and John by going to their website at rollinginparadise.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wags of SCI podcast. Once again, you're with Brooke Paget and Elena Polly.
Hello, friends. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Today, Brooke and I will be discussing the article that was done by Amber Ferguson on August 6th, and it is around unpaid caregivers, how America treats women caring for their paralyzed partners. And last week, if you tuned in, Brooke and I did a reading of the full article. We wanted to keep you guys in the loop for those of you who do not have access to the Washington Post subscription. The article is there for you once again. Please feel free to head back to episode 55 and have a listen to the Washington Post article. So 3 members of our community were interviewed. We had Jane Morgan, Sarah Thor, and Valerie Petaluga interviewed for this article specifically, and they're all wags of SCI coming from our community.
Yeah, so make sure that you take a listen if you haven't heard it. We asked all of you last week to take a listen, read the article, and then gather your thoughts and ideas for our little discussion today. So, you know, a lot of the feedback, we were monitoring the comments all week long. It was pretty crazy. And we also got an email from Amber to her colleagues talking about the shares and the spread. And they had as of Friday, last Friday, they had 1.6 million views of the video, which is huge. 80,000 unique visitors to the article itself. And then they had one of the highest conversion rates to subscriptions ever, which was amazing. So,
that is amazing.
Right? It's amazing for them because, you know, as much as it sucks now, there's so many paid news outlets now. It is the way that it is. You subscribe to whoever you want to subscribe. I think Washington Post is $4 a month. But they had like a record-breaking amount of people subscribe. So clearly, it's not just the wags of SCI that care about this issue, which is really awesome. You know, we were talking about this last night, Elena, and I'd said I didn't really have any expectations other than
Joe Biden reaching out to us. Sorry, no, totally. I totally interrupted you there, but no, it's true. That's what Brooke was saying. She's like, well, what were your expectations? I was like, I'm waiting for a call from Joe Biden. He's probably wondering how to address us. Like, this is a big deal.
No, but in all seriousness, like literally, like so many people read the article. And just from my background in marketing and just working with so many like conversion rates and click-through campaigns and all that stuff, the numbers were amazing. For anybody out there who doesn't understand what the numbers mean, the numbers were like far beyond what I would ever expect, especially during the age of like COVID, how everybody's obsessed with COVID. And yes, the article had a COVID angle to it, but it was highlighting a much more important global issue that all of us have been struggling with for so long, all caregivers, you know, whether you live in one of the 8 states that do pay spousal caregivers, it's not enough. It doesn't recognize your value. It's not as much as they would pay outside care to come in. Even if you're more qualified, even if you're more educated because you're a spouse, it's nonsense. Here in Canada, it's almost worse. I was saying to you last night, Elena, I was like, it's almost worse in Canada because there's one province that pays spousal supporters and it's not enough. And it's only one avenue of insurance. It's not everywhere. And it's super discriminatory. And here in Canada, the big mind-blowing thing is on the Charter of Human Rights in Canada, there is a section on the discrimination trait, like the ways that you should not discriminate somebody. And marital and relationship status is one of the protected characteristics, which is interesting because the U.S. doesn't have that on their Charter of Rights. But yet they still have 8 states that pay their spouses. You still have that option on a few insurance companies. So technically the States is more progressive than Canada, which is insane when it comes to the fact that, you know, we have this on our Charter of Rights here, that you cannot discriminate someone in the terms of their employment based on their marital or relationship status, which if you've listened to our other episodes before, Elaine and I are both working on our personal cases right now. And that is a major point that our lawyer is highlighting, is that this is full on a discriminatory against human rights practice, and it has to stop and it has to be changed. And the reason why it hasn't changed is because no one's challenged it. And so we get our answer on August 26th. So in 10 days, we will have our answer from the tribunal. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Lots of meditation before that happens, right? I mean, so going back to the point that you had mentioned earlier about COVID, yes, this article had a COVID angle, and the reason for that being is because I think COVID once again really highlighted the work that was being done within the home, the domestic, not just domestic labor, but the health care portion of taking care of your spouse, and just how so deeply crucial that is in terms of keeping everybody within the home safe and out of the hospital system. And we saw the numbers, and we're seeing them again sort of fluctuating and, getting quite high up there. We're over 700 in BC, in British Columbia alone, from the last couple of days.
Oh, are we? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're close to 800 already.
Oh my gosh. From 80 a couple of weeks ago. The last time I checked, it was 80.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a reality for all of us. And I know we don't have to say this to anybody listening to this podcast, because you guys all already know, because most of you are living this life, but it's so important that we have some sort of, I want to say it's really important to have some sort of recognition, at the very least, have some recognition for the work that is being done. And, I found it very interesting in the article with Sarah Thor, when she had mentioned, had I been paid as a spouse to take care of my husband, there would have been a bit of self-worth attached to that, not just, when she's going back to apply for a position after years and years of doing this unpaid labor, nobody's recognizing her employment as employment, because there's no paycheck attached to that. There's no recognition of it being important. And I think one of the other issues that I sort of, when I sit here and think about why this is happening, is that I don't feel that a caregiving job, I feel like it's a very entry-level position. It's not looked at as something that should be really recognized and honored and celebrated. People just sort of think, it's on the same scale as, I'm just going to go work at McDonald's. If I can't get a job somewhere else, maybe I'll just apply to be a caregiver, where it's very much the opposite of that. It takes a lot of skill to be a caregiver. First of all, you have to have the personality. You have to have be able to have the patience, be able to multitask, be able to have a plan, be able to know when things need to happen for your partner and what the schedule looks like. And then on top of that, many of us are doing things like wound care. We're doing bowel programs. We're doing the meal planning. We're doing the lifts, the transfers, we're doing, the chauffeuring, taking to appointments. This is all, this is labor intensive, and it's skilled work. It's not just like going to McDonald's and flipping fries.
Yeah. And I think that for me, this really, really highlights the issue of Western society in general. When you see and you look at, positions in the workforce that help people, that actually are doing good things, that are, even teachers that are actually educating our future generations, social workers, counselors, like people that are out helping and actually doing the grunt work of helping people, they're notoriously low paid positions. It's just the way that it is. You don't get into a position where you're helping people one-on-one and actually trying to change the world or keeping someone alive. Like those positions are notoriously underpaid, low paid, or overworked. And it's interesting. And it just really shows what Western society values. I mean, yes, there's something to be said about, you can do whatever you want, the American dream, the Canadian dream. You can build as much as you want and this and that. But it's interesting how those jobs that they're actually doing some great work and helping people are just, they're not valued. They're not valued as far as payment. To me, I've always thought that those jobs should be at the pay schedule of a lawyer or a doctor. Because, yes, doctors are helping people. Yes, lawyers are helping people. But they have such a high pay bracket. And, a lot of these people have the same amount of education as lawyers and doctors, and they're actually educating and helping people and keeping people alive. So I think it really highlights a problem for me in Western society where you don't get that respect. And I think about Sarah And I put myself in her shoes, and because we know her quite well through emailing, and we've been in touch with her.
Followed her story over the years. She was one of the first and initial Wags of SCI to join the team in terms of outreach and support and community.
Right. Yeah. And I just think about how resentful I would have been if I were in her situation where, you know, you're helping your husband. Yes, there's a certain level of, you know, you're grateful that you can do that for your husband. There's a certain level of that. But having a couple of nurses come in and rotate in that, you know, are being compensated for their time and for their labor and their effort, and you just are in there not being paid, not being recognized. Like, no wonder she, you know, she said in the article she felt like a zombie walking around with no one needing her. She just didn't feel recognized, and that's huge. And it's just so sad because, you know, you're helping to lovingly keep somebody alive and well.
Yeah, and especially the sad level of care that he does require, that Michael does require.
Right.
Sort of touching base on that a little bit, that's sort of, you know, Dan and I have been really challenged with the move comes a whole new care system of new caregivers. And this last couple of weeks, we've had a really difficult time with people showing up, either showing up so late that we don't think they're going to show up, or just showing up really late and Dan being late for work, or, you know, we're sort of riding that wave. So I sort of feel a little bit of that I guess when you have caregivers coming in, and sometimes I try to get away from that space of what you were saying with Sarah, of feeling resentful, where you're seeing people coming in and doing a really lousy job or the bare minimum, and they're making the money, right? They're getting paid. And you do this long after they come and go, right? You continue to do the shift. The shift doesn't end. And,
you know, just to interrupt you here for a second, there was a lot of comments on the Post articles talking about, like, why are they complaining? They should just go and get a job. Like, if they have paid care coming in, why don't they just go get a job? And it's not as simple as that. Like, we're choosing to help our partners. It's not like we can go get a job and then come home and compensate. Like, I know, Elena, you've talked about this in the past, where you've been working and you've been called because so-and-so didn't show up. It's the unreliability. You know, we get sick of the unreliability, right?
Also, it's not very good for your own physical and mental health. Like, when your adrenals are constantly just through the roof, and you're sort of on that, you know, your body is in that fight or flight response or fight, freeze, flight. That response of just jump up and go at any moment. It's
like you're on call all the time.
All the time. It's not even about the physical of, I'm going to sit down and have a cup of coffee and then now I'm being called, which a lot of women do discuss, but it's more so at any moment, anything can happen. You never get to a place of peace and rest. Like, your body is just consistently in that space of, at any moment, something will happen. Even when you go to work and you separate yourself from your partner, at any moment, just knowing that the care is just not sufficient. It's not there. And even when the care shows up here, they're all often asking me for help. Hey, do you know where his pants are that he wants to wear? Hey, do you know where the socks? Hey, do you know where the catheters are? Can you help me transfer him? I'm like walking out the door with both my dogs, taking them for a walk in the morning when they come here. Wait, can you help me do this? And sometimes I sort of think to myself, and I'm never rude. I just say, yeah, of course. Okay. Because I don't ever want somebody to feel that position. But Dan and I were talking about this, and we're like, but they're getting paid to do this job. So if anything, if you get down to the bare basics of this, it's the training is obviously not there. So how is it that this career path, this career choice, they're obviously not valuing their employees well enough to make sure that they're walking into a home. And I understand you're walking into many different homes, but with confidence, coming in, thinking, I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I don't know. There's just,
and they're burned out too. Like, they're underpaid as well. And that's the thing is, like, if you find a good care aide,
right? They're resentful as well. Like, I've heard many stories of our caregivers before saying, I'm going to somebody's house this person's pulling my hair or swearing at me, or or whatnot. You don't
It's
know
true.
what you're walking into.
It's true. And it's like a long line of just like there's disrespect. There's, people are doing this because they have no other option. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, if you find a good caregiver in there, and I'm not saying that there's no good outside caregivers, because there's a lot of women in our group that have found them and are perfectly happy with their situation. Applause to you. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was
rare.
me. That was us before we moved. And now we start from the barrel, the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. And you know what? I have a interesting story for everybody about training. So Elena, I know they mentioned in the Post article our girls' trip for one night. When we went to Neva Lake, we went for one night, and I had to hire a care aide to come in. So 3 weeks before, I gave plenty of time. We called in an agency. We had a 3-hour home visit where they asked all these questions of his needs and times and this and that. And,
did you guys, sorry, I forget. Did you guys do like a trial session, like where they came in and like tried before they?
No.
Okay.
I'll get to this. So we had like a home visit. They came, she was like, okay, this was like the head nurse. She's like, okay, I will make sure that someone is available. I will spend the next 2 weeks combing my system, making sure that there's a suitable person, because she understood this was my first time away in years. I wouldn't be available at night. So then, long story short, Evan's insurance company did not approve someone to stay overnight with him. Now, keep in mind, my husband's a C4. He literally needs help moving his covers off and on of him every night. I wake up every hour and a half, 2 hours, and assist him with either rolling him, moving his pillows, spraying him off because he gets incredibly hot, removing his covers, taking them off and on, making sure that he is safe and comfortable. And this is like, catheters, whatever it may be. But he wasn't approved for overnight care when I was away. So what happened was, and we we weren't really sure how many hours because someone would come in at night when I was away. So a stranger came in at 10:30 at night and got him into bed, stayed for an hour and a half, and then left him alone. And the other problem with leaving him alone was that he cannot enter and exit his unit without assistance. So if there had been a fire or something wrong, he would have no way to get in and out of his apartment. So it's a safety thing here. And that was the insurer's fault, of course. But the bigger picture thing is that they sent someone that didn't know how to do a catheter to get him up at 5:30 in the morning. She was scared of dogs. Those were 2 requests that we had to have. We had to have an LPN. She wasn't an LPN. It was a disaster. I came home. She didn't know how to properly put on a condom catheter, so he had marks all over his penis. It was literally a nightmare. And so I said to myself, I was like, is going away one night at this time worth it to me? Absolutely not, because of this stress. Because when these things happen, it's not about control. It's about the safety of your partner and the fact that nobody really cares, to be honest, when it comes down to it. And so we had a discussion with his case manager afterwards. We wrote in this huge letter detailing everything that happened, just making sure that everything was on file, how we were never going to call that company again, that agency again. And basically the response was, he called and he said, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, we totally understand. We're so sorry. We will follow up with that nursing agency. You don't have to use them again. In fact, you can pick your next agency, and we'll get somebody to come in a week before so you can train them, Brooke. And I said to the case manager,
that's good though. That's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. But here's the thing. Who's going to compensate me for spending hours training this person to do my job in a good, that's the thing. It's just like, he knows I don't get paid. He knows I do this for free. He knows I've saved insurance, $25,000 a month, with my better care. And then he's like, oh, you can train them. And it's like, the one time that I said, I'm not stepping in, I'm going to give this person as much information as I can in the 3-hour visit. And then I'm going to go on my girls' trip. Mm-hmm. When I do that, it's just a disaster. And so it's just like, the point I'm trying to make is that the reliance on the spousal or family caregiver is so strong because they care, and the insurer and the government programs, they know that you care. They know that you're not going to abandon your partner. So they use that. And that's the problem with our caregiving society is that they use the people who are there because they care. And that is just so wrong.
It is. And I know from experience, like with Dan, let's say, because my partner Dan likes to be in charge of his care. It's something that we've always sort of pushed towards. It's like, this is your body, this is your experience. The care is the way that you want it. He has a voice. He can tell them exactly what he needs, when he needs it. And I know even I try, and it's taken me years to sort of take a step back and allow him to have that space. Because I mean, to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter what I want. I'm not the one in the wheelchair. It matters what he wants. He's the one in the wheelchair. He's the one living his life paralyzed. So I really just take a back seat to it. And I notice the stuff coming up in me, even when I hear the conversation between them. I'm like, oh my God, like this morning, there was a conversation about blue gloves. Do you have blue gloves? And I was like, well, I have a whole bunch of gloves. They're not blue. And then this long conversation about the difference between blue and regular gloves, the clear ones, and why it's better to have the blue ones, and all this. And, even listening to Dan, training his care, because that's kind of what we're still doing. And it takes a long time. It's not a 3-hour long visit. It takes a long time to have somebody know exactly like your routines, where your things are, how you like things done. And just listening to that, and I'm sort of thinking, oh my goodness, like this is a huge process. This is not something to take lightly. It's not a 3-hour long visit. This is somebody's care. Like if you don't do the bowel care properly, they can get very sick. They can die. So these are very skilled, like what you're saying, sort of circling back to what you're saying, is these are skilled positions. I know for a fact that if I left Dan with his parents to do this, there's no way that they would know what the hell is going on, right? It's not even somebody who's trained to, you're trained on one particular model where the model is, it's one cookie cutter and it fits everybody, where it's not. This is very individualistic. And that's the routine that you have to get down pat, is what Evan might like, the way he not even like need is very different than what Dan or somebody else would need to have done in what order and the way that they'd like it, or they need it. So
exactly. And the thing is that head nurse wrote down, and I didn't see this till after, because she's like, no, our notes are confidential. We give it to WorkSafe, of course. But she had wrote down that his bowel routine takes 20 minutes.
20
and that's
minutes?
how much time. I'm just like, 20
Nobody's
minutes? Really?
Bowel routine takes 20 minutes.
Like these people are skilled nursing professionals, and they still think a high-level quadriplegic would take 20 minutes in the bathroom. Like it's unreasonable. It's ridiculous. But you know what? Let's get back to the article. Let's talk about some of the positives. So we were monitoring the comments and what people were saying. And there was a huge, huge, huge amount of positive comments, far outweigh the negatives. There was a lot of ignorant negative comments. And if you want to see them, you can go on the post article. You can go on the Facebook post.
I actually didn't notice too many of those. I think it really was flooded with positive comments and people coming out of the woodworks that are talking about other family members with spinal cord injuries. Right. It wasn't just spouses, which was really cool. Right. Really cool to have that.
Well, because it's a family issue. It's a family caregiver issue. It's, there was, the negatives that I saw were just, people comparing it to like having children, and you don't get paid to take care of your children, although I think you should. In the Nordic countries, a homemaker is considered a very respected position. They also pay 60% taxes, but still it's a respected position. You're caring for somebody, you get paid. You shouldn't have to sacrifice. So there was that. And there was also you said in your marriage vows, through thick and thin, sickness and health, I had to care for my husband who was dying. It's like, yes, okay, I get that. Every caregiver that is at home sacrificing their life and work to care for another human being should be compensated. But unfortunately, that's not what the article was about. However, it got a lot of attention from other caregivers, which is huge. And that's really what everybody wants. We want more conversation across different platforms, which is amazing. And people finding commonalities in the article. There was so many positive comments. Like I said, a lot of wow, I didn't know this was happening. Wow, this happened to my friend. I'm so glad that the post picked this up. I'm shocked that the post picked this up. We had a lot of comments that said that they were shocked that the post cared about this and how great it was. And, you know, it was really awesome. And there was a lot of people that just didn't know that this was happening. And, we also got a lot of, oh, they're saints, the whole, oh, you're a saint comment, which was interesting because it's a positive comment. Those people are saying, wow, these women are amazing. You're a saint. And, both of us, Elena, we've both had that comment from people before, like even my dad.
We have.
Yeah.
And I think it took us a while to take it in a different tone because you can look at it from different perspective. At first it was kind of like, why would you say that? We're not saints. But when you think about when somebody doesn't really have the knowledge around the care and the position that you're in, they're more so saying it in terms of, wow, this is a lot of work, right? That's what they're saying.
And they respect you and they think it's amazing. And the thing is that I always say this, and I always think this too. I always say this. People don't understand what they would do if they were put in this position. They automatically think I could never do that. But they would surprise themselves to know that if this happened to you, God forbid this happens to you, you would think differently if you were put in this position. Trust me, I was like the least caregiving person before my partner's accident. I did not have it in me. I literally was the least. I was just so horrible at maternal instincts. I was so bad at like helping him when he was sick. Like I did not have it in me. And then something flipped. When he had his accident, something changed. And so when you're put in this position, you can be a saint too. You would be a saint too. I mean, and like, I said to some of the comments, like there's two choices that you make when this happens to you. Do you stay and prioritize your love over physical issues, or do you leave? Both are very respectable. Both are, you have to do what your soul is guiding you to do, right? And both are totally fine. You just have to kind of make that decision when you're in that position, right?
And for yourself, and be honest with yourself. And there is zero shame around either opportunity or either decision that you make, because at the end of it, I think that what should be celebrated is following your truth, who you really, really are and what you really, really want.
And the thing is a lot of us in the WAGS community found that when this accident happened, if we were with our partner when it happened, even the people that met after, the struggles and the new perspectives that you're given from this accident, from this life change, they really help you to find your truth of who you really are.
Oh my God, the elevation of growth overall of the, not even like SCI related, like injury sort of stuff, but everything else, like in terms of developing. You learn so many skills. You learn a lot of skills on self-regulation. Well, for the most part, I think you do. And just like co-regulating each other, being able to be in a space of, you learn that you can't be under stress for a long period of time. It's not long term. You can't live like that, right? So you have a choice to make of either being able to sustain each other and support each other in a positive environment with peace and love and all the good stuff that you find. There's almost like a silver lining with this injury, I think. And you can either learn to go that way, or I don't know if you would be able to make it long term.
Yeah, you really get handed on a silver platter.
All the tools that you need for success.
and just like you get a reflection of your behavior pretty quickly. Like, I mean, that's one of the differences between able-bodied couples and couples like us is your behavior isn't necessarily magnified in the same way because your partner doesn't rely on you in the same way. And I feel like when your partner has some sort of reliance on you, like needs a bit of assistance, even paraplegics, the way you react to each other is really highlighted more. And you get that presented to you as a learning tool to really become who you want to become. Right. And it's just really shown to you. And a lot of other couples, they don't get that because they disconnect from each other. They live in their own worlds. They go their separate ways. They have to work on reconnecting. Whereas us, we have that connection and we have to work on
disconnecting. No.
Well, yeah, we have to work on making that connection work, right?
Yeah.
So that it's not a disaster between two people. That's the whole challenge, right?
You know what? I was thinking the other day, and it's been a long time since I've had these thoughts, like the thoughts of like what it used to be like before a partner's injuries. Like, hey, honey, what are you going to do today? Like everybody knows, you get up, you go to work, you shower yourself, you get up, and then you just sort of make your coffee. Maybe you have a quick meal together, or maybe you don't. You just grab your coffee and run out the door. And then that's it, right? And then you don't, and then, yeah. And then you have your separate lives. And that, but even like the act of waking up and being able to get up and dress yourself and have a shower yourself, it's been a long time since I've had those thoughts of like, whoa, what is that like? Like now, I mean, we're 5.5 years in, and already I'm like, what was that like? Like, I don't even remember. It's just so, it's not the norm. And I notice it a bit like on weekends and stuff, like we like to sleep in and stuff. And, I'm like, what was that like? I don't even remember. I don't know. The adjustment, right? It's like in the near but distant past, sort of. It's hard to explain. I think also within the first year of recovery and every year after that, there's just a plethora of emotions and experiences and situations that you go through, that you adjust to, that you learn something new from. And sometimes, especially if you're in that dissociation realm through the first year, it's really hard to remember all of the skills that you build up and that you sort of add to your toolbox, right? And then the next year comes back, and then you're sort of like unraveling. After you start to unravel all the stuff that you really went through, then you can really sort of sit back and be like, wow, that was really interesting. And then maybe be able to reflect on that. But it's a wild ride.
For sure. Well, I mean, another huge thank you to Amber for taking this story on, for listening to us when we texted her in the beginning of COVID saying, hey, we have a story for you. Help our community. You know, she was right there being like, I'm super interested. I want to know more. I want to help you guys. And it's really hard to find someone, you know, let alone a woman who's actually interested in your cause. And we're so indebted.
And somebody outside of our community too, right? Because she doesn't have a connection at all to paralysis or being a partner with somebody with paralysis necessarily. But Amber Ferguson, for anybody listening that doesn't know, did the first article on the Wags of SCI in 2018. Brooke and I established this community in 2017, the end of it. So the following year, she picked up the Wags of SCI, story of how the group began, and we've been so fortunate to have this friendship and relationship with her over the years. And she truly does care about this community. She truly does care about you guys, which is incredible.
And she did so much work. I mean, she did hours and hours. 15
months in the making. So pretty wild beginning of COVID almost.
Yeah.
But we just want to say thank you. We love you, Amber. We recognize so much happened during COVID too. You know, we had so many other news reporting and covering. So we're so blessed to have been able to have this story as she launched it on the Sunday front page business section of the Washington Post. So that was really cool.
It's awesome too, because I just love the fact that I love that it was in the business, because she had originally said it was going to be online in the women's area. Yeah. But the fact that it's in the business section, which is read by a lot of businessmen, I'm hoping that a lot of them were touched by this, because this injury, like we always say, it can happen to anyone at any time, regardless of your status in life. It doesn't matter who you are. A lot of our followers have, transverse myelitis, have had tumors in their spine that formed overnight. They've had blood clots that are just random, right? Let alone all the accidents that create this. It's not just accidents, right? And so it can literally happen to anybody. And that's why everybody should care. But I was so happy that it was in the business section, because there's a lot of people that read that section that are definitely, men. And it was really smart on the Post's behalf. I know that Amber's editor was a woman too, so it was very strategic. So it was just great. And anyone who hasn't read the article, you can find the link on our website. You can find the full article on our website without video or pictures if you want to read it or share it and you don't have access to the Post. You can also find it on the Post website. Just search in your Google bar Washington Post caregiver's spinal cord injury, and it'll
Wags of SCI.
Yeah, it'll come right up. So make sure that you share it. Make sure that you spread the word. We still have a lot of work to do, and
we need your help.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking about this last night, Elena, about how, we can only do so much for the collective. We have to work on our own cases. We have to start from the ground up, and which is what we're doing behind the scenes. But we're hoping that this inspires some women out there that are victims of this, that want to change policies. And the only way you change policies is by appealing and by working the process, working the steps, doing what you have to do to, get a lawyer, get someone to help you, go through the process at your insurance company or your government program. Go all the way to the top. Yeah, it could take years, but you have to do it, right?
And don't give up. And if you do need a lawyer, as always, Robin Wishart with Wishart Brain and Spine Law is the Wags of SCI lawyer who will provide you with free legal advice and will always have your back no matter what. She's part of the girl gang. She believes in the collective and truly, truly has a passion and heart for helping you guys out as she has for us. So once again, don't hesitate to reach out. Robin Wishart at Wishart Brain and Spine Law.
Yeah, and you can find links to her on our website as well, wagsofsci.com. If you want to touch base directly with her, you can email us confidentially, wagsofsci@gmail.com. If you need a letter of support, if you need something to assist you on your journey to getting to be a compensated family caregiver, we are all here to help you. We are definitely working the process ourselves. We have a lot of advice. So if you or you know somebody that is going through this, please send them our information. We are here to advocate and support you.
So until next time, thank you once again for spending this last little segment with us with the Washington Post discussion. Until next time, cheers and stay safe. The advocacy and outreach group Wags of SCI is currently a volunteer-based operation.
We raise funds year-round to pay for date nights for our couples, essential medical supplies that our members may not be able to afford, mental health support for our WAGs, including counseling, and our amazing meetups led by our volunteer ambassadors around the globe.
If you feel called to support our mission, please visit our website, wagsofsci.com, or donate directly to the Wags of SCI GoFundMe page.
We thank you for your support to help make this group possible and make a difference in the lives of SCI couples worldwide.